Compared to the slow, centuries-long conquest of Italy, Rome's expansion into the wider Mediterranean was remarkably rapid. Once Italy had been secured, Rome entered a far more dangerous phase of growth, one that required defeating an established great power. This struggle played out through a series of 3 brutal conflicts with Carthage, known collectively as the Punic Wars. The First Punic War lasted from 264 to 241 BCE, the second from 218 to 201 BCE, and the third ended with the total destruction of Carthage in 146 BCE. Together, these wars transformed Rome from an Italian power into the master of the Western Mediterranean. Carthage was no minor rival. Originally founded by Phoenician traders along the coast of North Africa, it had grown by 264 BCE into a wealthy commercial empire. Carthage dominated much of North Africa, controlled key islands such as Sardinia and Corsica, and held extensive territories in Spain. Its power rested on commerce, naval strength, and a network of overseas possessions. Like Rome, Carthage was ambitious and expanding, and the two states now faced each other across the narrow waters of the Mediterranean. With both competing for influence and security, conflict was almost inevitable. The First Punic War exposed Rome's weaknesses and its strengths. Carthage was a naval power. Rome was not. At the war's outset, Rome possessed virtually no fleet. Instead of accepting this disadvantage, the Romans responded in typical fashion. They built one. In fact, they built several fleets over the course of the war, learning naval warfare through trial, error, and enormous loss. Rome's greatest advantage was not technical brilliance, but determination. Time and again, Roman fleets were destroyed, and time and again, new ones were raised. Through sheer endurance and an ability to absorb losses without collapsing, Rome eventually wore Carthage down and emerged victorious in 241 BCE. The Second Punic War was far more serious and far more dangerous. It began in 218 BCE when the Carthaginian general Hannibal launched one of the boldest campaigns in military history. Leading his army and his war elephants across the Alps, Hannibal invaded Italy directly. He routed Roman forces in a series of devastating battles, inflicting catastrophic casualties and shocking the Roman world. His hope was clear. If he could defeat Rome repeatedly in the field, Rome's Italian allies would abandon her. They did not. This was the decisive failure of Hannibal's strategy. Because Rome had spent generations treating her allies comparatively well, granting autonomy, legal rights, and pathways to citizenship, those allies remained loyal even in the darkest moments. They continued to supply Rome with troops and resources, allowing the Republic to replace lost armies and keep fighting. Hannibal roamed Italy for more than a decade, winning battles but unable to achieve victory. He could not capture the city of Rome itself, nor could he fracture Rome's alliance system. Eventually, Rome adapted. Rather than confronting Hannibal directly, Roman commanders adopted a strategy of delay and attrition, shadowing his movements, harassing his forces, and avoiding large engagements. Over time, Hannibal's army weakened. The war's turning point came in 204 BCE, when a Roman force under Publius Cornelius Scipio carried the war to North Africa. Forced to defend his homeland, Hannibal returned to Carthage. At the Battle of Zama in 202 BCE, Scipio defeated Hannibal decisively, the Carthaginian general's first defeat in battle. Hannibal fled into exile, and Carthage surrendered. Rome now stood as the dominant power of the central Mediterranean. With Carthage crippled, Rome's position in the west was secure. Former enemies became allies, and Roman influence expanded steadily. The matter was settled permanently in 146 BCE, when Rome destroyed Carthage completely, ending the Third Punic War and removing its greatest rival from history. Rome's attention then turned east. Between 201 and 146 BCE, the Republic confronted the successor kingdoms of Alexander the Great in the eastern Mediterranean. These Hellenistic states were wealthy, sophisticated, and militarily formidable, but they were divided and often mistrustful of one another. Some avoided war temporarily, but none could ultimately resist Roman intervention. After Hannibal's defeat, he sought refuge in Macedonia, where King Philip V welcomed him. Hannibal urged Philip to strike while Rome was exhausted and vulnerable. Greek states alarmed by Macedonian aggression appealed to Rome, prompting Roman intervention. In the Second Macedonian War, Roman forces, led by Lucius Cornelius Scipio, brother of Scipio Africanus, defeated Philip within 4 years. Rome imposed penalties, but did not annex Macedonia, demanding only reparations and an end to Philip's interference with Roman allies before withdrawing its armies. Hannibal fled again, this time to the Seleucid Empire. There, he convinced King Antiochus III that Rome could be challenged. In 192 BCE, Antiochus invaded Greece, but Rome responded swiftly. Once again, the Scipio family led Roman forces, defeating the Seleucids in the Syrian War from 192 to 189 BCE. Antiochus was forced to pay a massive indemnity and retreat from Greek affairs. Rome again took no territory. Hannibal, with no remaining refuge, eventually took his own life. By 188 BCE, Rome had emerged as the dominant power of the Mediterranean world. Yet, paradoxically, it ruled very little territory outside Italy, holding mostly former Carthaginian lands in Spain. Rome was not yet a territorial empire, but it had been fundamentally transformed. Decades of continuous warfare reshaped Roman society, its economy, its political institutions, and its approach to foreign policy. The city that had once been a farmers' republic was becoming something new and more dangerous. It is there, with the changes wrought by conquest, that the next chapter of Roman history truly begins.